Hey everybody, remember on the last video we went over doing the layout for the equipment. And as you can see, I added the wireway hangers or the cable supports for the equipment. So the cable's gonna come down here, turn, and then go straight up into the equipment, a bottom feed. But one thing I forgot to explain when I was going over the last equipment layout instruction video is I forgot to add that it's good to always add your connectors, or not always, but for the most part, a lot of time with your small equipment, it's good to add your connectors, like these little 2-screw connectors that you're gonna use to support your equipment going inside, support your cables going inside your equipment. It's good to add these before you mount your equipment. Now, if you mount a big piece of equipment, sometimes you won't be able to add your cable connectors. But for small equipment like this, a lot of times it's better if you just add your cable connectors before you mount the equipment. That way, when you get ready to mount the equipment, you can just mount the equipment, put it up, run your cables, and just feed them straight into the equipment. And then make it a lot easier than trying to fight and drill a hole in the box while the equipment is already mounted, and you'll have to fight with it and all that type of different stuff. So it just makes it a lot easier if you have like small equipment to go ahead and do your layout for your cable connectors. Like these, I'm just using these simple 2-screw connectors. Some people call them 2-screw connectors. Some people call them BX connectors. It's different term for it. But these simple, basic ones right here is usually, a lot of times it's good to use like CGBs or the plastic watertight type of cable connectors if you're using a box like this. But just for instruction purposes, I just wanted to use these because I had these on hand, and they simple. You just pretty much drill, once you drill your holes, you just add it in, take the ring off, slide it in, tighten the ring down, and it's pretty much ready. But like I said, I added these cable supports, which are like mini wireway hangers. And it's good to have at least 16 inches between each cable support. Some places for horizontal, you can go up to 18 inches and 16 inches on the vertical, but most places I worked at, it's usually just 16 inches to be the standard. Now for the main wireways, according to IEEE standard 45, you can go up to 24 inches. They don't want you to go any more than 24 inches. Now I've seen some situations where they went up to 32 inches. But you can't go wrong if you just stick with 16. Some people do 14, but they try to keep the weight down on the ship as much as possible by using the least amount of material, because we use 14 throughout the whole ship. That'll make the ship a whole lot heavier, even though it's just a small, simple stud or something like that. It'll make it a lot heavier the more material that you use. But you can go up to 16 inches. I just did 16 inches on my cable supports. I leveled them out with my level and drilled the holes and just drilled them in using screws. Now, when you're on the ship, you're probably gonna end up seeing a lot of welding because the ship is made of steel primarily. So it's gonna be, most of the time it's gonna be welded. It might be studs. It might be just be hangers that they just weld with supports on the side. Like I said, we're gonna do, when you're doing your layout for your connectors, it's good a lot of times to center it up on the box with your tape measure. But for mine, I always go for the look, which way it's gonna look the best. And for me, it looked the best if I came out a little bit further. So instead of it being centered, I went up a little bit further out from where it's actually gonna be. So it's gonna be here, and when I take it up, it's gonna be further out on the box. So this is a 12 by 12 box. It's a little over 6 inches in depth. So it's a little bit over 6 inches deep. So I went about 4.5 inches out from where it's gonna be mounted on the wall. So about 4.5 inches out this way from where it's gonna be mounted on the wall on my box. Because it'll look a little bit better for me, because my wireway hangers already come out about 2 inches. And I want to utilize my cable and make my cable look really neat whenever I get ready to cut in and groom. So I went about 4.5 inches out here. And it's good to center it up this way too when you make your pencil marks where you're gonna drill your holes. But on this one, because the way my box is sitting, I didn't center it up. I shifted it over further from where the cables are going to enter. So I went further over this way, and when I put my box up, you see my finger right here? So when I put my box up here, you get my cables, it's a little bit further over from this side. You get my cables a little bit more distance to come in and go further this way. To me, it's just gonna look better that way. But like I said, a lot of times it's good to center it up depending on how your wire way is designed and how your cables are gonna come in. So I went about 1.5 inches between each connector, because this connector is, I think it's this is a 3/8 inch connector with a 1/2 inch hole. So I'm gonna have to drill a 1/2 inch hole in my box. But I went 1.5 inches between each one. That'll give me plenty of room. So when I add my connectors, I have enough space in between them. And they won't be too close together, but it'll keep my cable to where they flow into the equipment really neat, tight and neat. If you can look and see how close I actually have the cable connectors together once I drill my holes. And on the next video, I'm gonna drill these holes. And on the next video, I'm gonna show you how it looks once I drill the holes and I add the cable connectors and secure them down. And then on the next video after that, I'm gonna go ahead and do my layout. Well, not my layout, I'm gonna go ahead and mark my holes. Since I already did my layout for my box, I'm gonna mark my holes, drill my holes, and I'm gonna go ahead and mount the box.